Hello, this is Jared with the Life of a Marketer podcast again. And today I want to welcome Kristin Howard. Kristin, I'm just going to let you take it away from here, introduce yourself to us, and tell us about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, yes, like Jared said, I'm Kristen. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Jared, for having me. I've been in marketing my whole career, so I guess about 18 years now. And I do have a business called 24 Social Marketing, where we manage digital marketing, specifically Google ads and social media ads for other businesses to really save them time and money and ultimately make them money. So that is our focus. And, I love what I do. I also work for Cummins uh, for my full-time job on the marketing team. We make generators and engines, if you're not familiar. So that's who I am.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So tell us, what's the best thing about being in the marketing industry?
Honestly, I would have said this, 18 years ago when I first started, or at least in my first year as a marketing coordinator in my first job. It's always been the people for me. When I was studying business in undergrad, I realized I didn't know what kind of business I was going to go into. And the part that was most interesting to me was marketing because it was very people focused. Not only just that, obviously we work with people every day, but you get to focus on people's behavior and figure out how the best way to get a message across to them and to convince them that you have the solution to their problem. So really, short answer, it's the people.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Okay. 18 years. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and dive in a little bit in a second, but what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
Um, so I would say I think this is actually good life advice, but it's certainly good advice for marketing because marketing is always changing. That means you should always be learning. So whether that means reading books focused on marketing or on the area of marketing you are most interested in, signing up for e-newsletters that have good content. Like I really like HubSpot's content a lot. It just kind of keeps me up on what's happening, especially social media. It's always changing. And so I would say just always be learning. And, I would say that to anybody, whether they're in marketing or not. I'm a big reader. And wasn't always, but kind of forced myself to kind of sit down and start reading every morning, just, if it's 15, 20 minutes, because I think that that's pretty much what most successful people do. And I just always want to be challenging myself. And I also think when you continue learning, it makes you more interesting to talk to. If you're at a party or you're meeting someone for the first time, I think it's easier to relate to people, or you can find a subject that you can talk with them about. So always learn.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me give me your top two favorite books about marketing.
Oh man. You know what? Anything, my biggest one is anything by Donald Miller. His marketing, so Marketing Made Simple, or is it Story Brand? I don't know if that's the actual name of the book. I have it. But I followed,
Yeah,
what I'm
that's the
talking
name
about.
of his brand, I think. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, or he has, I think it was like Building a Story Brand or something like that. So he's written several books just over the last 3 decades, but just more recently in the last maybe decade or so have been all these marketing books. I'm actually joining one of his workshops next week, not the in-person one, but I'm just going to do the live stream for how to write a book. And so that's something I want to learn how to do. I haven't done it yet. And so I really would recommend any of his stuff. I think the way he explains marketing, and I just took all of the courses he had a few years ago, is so much better than what I learned in school, to be honest. I just love, he makes it simple but straightforward. And I just think it's brilliant. So anything by him.
Awesome, awesome. I my favorite marketing book is, I can't remember the title, it escapes me now, but it's about this, it's maybe about 50 pages, and it's called This Is How You Should Write. And it teaches you how to write in a way that's like very low grade level and stupid, and it's just a brilliant book, that book. And it's like this big. It's one of the best marketing books that I ever read for copywriting. That's my favorite.
I'm gonna check that one out. I'm
I
gonna
can't
write it down.
remember. I'll try to put in the description the name of that book if I can remember what it is. And I
Okay.
think, in fact, I moved and I think I left it at another place on top of it. I'm not sure. So I don't even, but I read that book and it just blew me away at how you should write in a simple and very direct way that connects with people. And even,
Yeah.
seems like very dumb, but
Yeah.
when you look at Frank Kern or someone like that and the way he's so simple, the best marketers, they tend to kind of not be too, even Donald Miller's pretty simple in his
Mhm.
way that he communicates. So all right, so I want to dive in a little bit. Your agency does ads.
Mhm.
And so you mentioned you do social media ads and Google ads. Which social media ads are you running for your clients?
Mainly focused still on Facebook and Instagram. I will say though, more recently, just in the last year and a half, I don't know what happened, but ever since I don't know, for some reason, it seems like it was around the last election, something happened with Facebook where the ads portion was just not, it wasn't getting the return that it was before. So we've had to pivot a lot and figure out if the algorithms change, like what's actually working. So I would say right now, Google Ads is a better value for the advertising dollar right now, at least for my clients. It has been. It kind of depends on the industry. But yeah, so that's where the focus has been. I've also done LinkedIn, Snapchat for clients as well, a little bit of TikTok. But those ad platforms, I just think generally you're going to reach more people for Instagram or Facebook. But again, it depends on the industry and the product or service that client is offering.
Sure. Sure. I think what happened is, since Apple, I think what happened is Apple banned the cookies, and
Yes.
then the Facebook tracking went haywire. And
Yeah.
even if you take your conversion server side, it still doesn't, Facebook doesn't work like it used to. And they've also continued to
Mm-hmm.
change the way they target with the algorithm. I know that it's more conversion focused, and you can't really pick who you want to show your ad to and have it work. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Facebook and Instagram has really been a huge disappointment for ads, unless you're doing something like, selling a book or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it's true.
Yeah, I've seen that too. That's why, we don't do Facebook and Instagram ads anymore, because you can generate leads with that, but they're usually
Yeah,
pretty bad quality.
agreed.
Awesome, awesome. So you've done Snapchat. Tell us a little bit about Snapchat. I don't know much about Snapchat ads, so tell us about, who do you think that is good for to run Snapchat? Do you do direct response type marketing with Snapchat? Teach us a little bit, because not many marketers know anything about Snapchat and about running ads with Snapchat.
Right. Yeah. So I ran them in the past for, it was a kind of one-off. They were promoting apparel pretty much, like
Mm-hmm.
t-shirts and that sort of thing, but it was apparel that was targeted definitely to a younger demographic. And this was just like 2 or 3 years ago now. So I'm not currently doing Snapchat for any clients, but that one, that was very interesting because we were targeting the younger generation. I've actually noticed that Snapchat is now advertising, or other people are advertising, probably people like us advertising to do Snapchat ads. I'm getting targeted by them on YouTube right now. I'm not sure why, but I'm getting these people promoting it. And it really is, it it has to be, in my opinion, it has to be something that is kind of niche. You have to have clever or really like quick and clear ads, I think, for that generation that isn't, they don't feel like they're being sold to. And generally, a lot of people don't like to feel like they're being sold to, but that generation especially, they want something real. So I think it's actually better not to advertise on Snapchat, but to have good content, that in, stories that you're telling and actually engaging with people. That's what's going to get them to remember you. I mean, it's kind of a tale as old as time with that. When we talk about Generation Z, I feel like that's what we always say. And that's what I found. But most of my clients aren't targeting Gen Z at this point. They're more targeting people who generally have a little more money. So we're not quite there yet.
Sure. I had a friend of mine run some Snapchat ads, and he said that, they had pretty good success but they had a very specific product. It was in the 30 to 35 range.
Okay.
A little bit more millennial. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
That apparently there are a lot of millennials that do use Snapchat, and so and they had a very low cost specific product, and it seemed to be working for them. It was it was some sort of thing to like saline cleanser for your nose, invented by a surgeon, maybe $30 plastic.
Okay.
And they just showed someone using it, on Snapchat, and I think they did it on TikTok, but they had more luck with Snapchat, believe it or not. So
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
That's good to know.
I thought it was interesting, and I think it's good for, content promotion. So if you wanted to kind of like do I don't know, kind of like a boost, but in Snapchat, I don't think you can boost in Snapchat, but the same concept. Right. I think that it would be an interesting platform. So anyways, all right, changing gears a little bit. This is a short podcast, so we're going to keep moving. What other successful people in marketing like yourself would you like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
Someone who he had actually hired me at my last full-time job. I do my business on the side because I like working in the corporate world too. Not everyone likes that, but it's something I do enjoy. He hired me there and then actually helped me get the job I have now with Cummins. And he is the VP of marketing at Jayco. They make RVs, for anyone who's not familiar, like campers and trailers, and that sort of thing. So he's been pretty influential, I would say, the last few years of my life. He is someone I would recommend, that I think would be really cool to talk to for this podcast. I certainly have others from my past who are very high up in the business there. And now I actually originally came from the pro audio industry. I spent the first 9 years of my career doing that, and I loved it. But the writing was kind of on the wall, and I had to make a decision to leave. I made the decision, thankfully, but I didn't want to. I think I cried when I left. But and since then I've been kind of in the RV industry because of where I'm located in northern Indiana. That's part of it. So
all right, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so one final question, just for fun. Tell me the oldest technology that you remember using.
Okay, so I actually think first grade, well, no, maybe even before that. My parents had an Atari, so I do remember the Atari. I was born in 1982. I'm 41, so that was definitely in my childhood. And probably it came to mind were floppy disks. So I think it was around then.
Oh yeah, those floppy disks. Yeah. The rubber ones, the big that are like big square ones like this big. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was like elementary school. We'd go to the computer lab and there were the giant computers, and
yeah, they weigh like 1,000 pounds each one of them. Yeah. We've gotten those answers, quite a bit. Atari and the floppy disk. Our the worst answer comes from my mom, who I did on the very first podcast just to test. That's a test, and she said a pencil. That's the oldest technology I remember using. So that's definitely the worst answer, and she's forever enshrined in this podcast as having the worst answer. I don't think anyone will answer worse than that. No. And then the oldest so far is a transistor radio. So that's
Oh, yeah.
someone who had been in marketing, I think, for like 50 years or something like that.
Yeah. I mentioned I came from Pro Audio. I'm pretty sure that's what our amplifier brand at the time. I used to work for Harman, and Harman bought Crown, which isn't a power amplifier, the brand. I believe they got their start making radio transistors, if I'm remembering right, for missionaries down in Ecuador. They would use them to communicate. So yeah, and that was what, 67 years ago now, I think. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. All right. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Kristin, thanks so much for hopping on the podcast with us. We really appreciate it. Everyone, you can catch our podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11, around 11. We never release it right on the hour because everybody does that. So it's going to be a little bit before or after 11. You can, the best way to get our podcast is probably to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Life of a Marketer podcast. If you want to get on our email list, you can just email me, Jared at hiveleadmarketing.com. And if not, we stream it on social media every Tuesday and Thursday. So that's where you can catch us. Please like, please subscribe, etc. We really appreciate that. Once again, Kristin, thanks so much. And this has been an awesome podcast.
Thank you. It's been an honor.